from the BoD studio. It is Playin and Slayin, episode 86. All right. Anyways, y'all, we got back from a weekender. That is where the four of us go and do gamer things at a undisclosed location, somewhere in the middle of the Midwest.
Cool.
And
Ty,
we're going to
there's
talk
only
about it.
three. I only see three people.
Yeah, the fourth one of us is back to regularly scheduled programming of young baby in the house and probably making up for the credit that he had to bank for a weekend away. So
All right.
our friend Bryce is not in front of you, but
He's here in spirit.
He is here in spirit.
Yeah.
And was able to attend the weekender, which was awesome because we hadn't had much Bryce time over the last several months for perfectly valid reasons. But
yes, you can. He does get a pass. Yeah.
It was nice to see him there. So,
and he was there drinking spirits, so that was good.
Yeah, he partook of some. Speaking of partaking, when you are playing and slaying, it is important to stay hydrated. So, how are we staying hydrated tonight, Troy? Are you back on the sauce?
No, I've been recovering. Yeah, I'm just recovering. So I'm all about. This is Will Conway shout out. So I have Zevia soda and I have Zevia energy drink, two-fisted.
Oh, wow, double Zevia.
Just thinking of you, Will. Just thinking of you. So
it's an assault on Will.
He'll convert someday.
Ireland's #1 BoD member, Will Conway.
Yeah.
Josh, what kind of carbonated water or non-carbonated water in a can are you drinking tonight?
I went with the Liquid Death Slaughterberry. It's pretty good. It's just a hint of berry, and then it goes away.
Well, so as to not disappoint everybody out there in Playin and Slayin world, I am drinking alcohol because I decided why stop after the weekender, and brought home the remnants of the Dragon's Milk, a classic, 11%, great winter beer. It's a good heavy, stout for the depths of winter, which we're in evidently here in Wisconsin. So
when it's dark outside, drink dark beer. That's the rule.
So, and Dragon's Milk, I don't know. I feel like Dragon's Milk has such a big tie between all of us and gaming, at least, because the first time I had it, I don't know if that was, we were in old Scotty's brew house at Gen Con when I think I brought you guys back to Gen Con.
Yeah.
We're going on almost 15 years ago, which is a little scary, but 14 years ago. And I remember, the bartender, I don't know if it was newer about that time or whatever, but I remember the bartender was like, hey, here's some good stuff to try. And we were totally bought in. And so, always has a special place in my heart.
Same.
Yeah.
And my stomach.
And my stomach, yes. And it then became since then it became like the Adepticon bar beer. We'll have to see if we can track it down with Adepticon Milwaukee.
Yeah. Maybe we need to give a hint over to the Hilton bar that they might need to pull in a couple more cases of Dragon's Milk if they know it's good for them. So
and if you see me at Adepticon Milwaukee, ask me about when I met Joe Rogan at the Miller Time Pub, which has since been renamed, but it's the Hilton Bar. And I'll tell you a story about when I was living across the street and I met Joe Rogan out at the bar.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. More info at media.goonhammer.com.
And now we are back. And so glad you're staying here through what we're drinking and going to listen to what we've been playing, hobbying. And guys, I am very proud because our hobby section, it is a hobby full banter session here on the first half of the show. And then once we get through that, we're going to dive right into weekender coverage and a few of it wouldn't be a year-end episode here as we sit in the middle of December if we didn't talk about a few of our bests of the year. Troy and I talked about some of our hobby and gaming favorites. So we're going to do a slight variation, just talk about some of the things that we've talked about throughout the year, but recap what we're doing. So without further ado, let's get into what's been hitting the table. And a recurring theme is Frosthaven. As we get in usually about monthly, sometimes twice a month. I think I've recorded roughly 17 plays of Frosthaven year to date for us. And we had another one recently. I don't know if it was since the last episode or not, but I know we got together with John and played through a mission, and I feel like we were on an elevator with platforms going by and a bunch of machines. So we have continued advancing, building up our civilization, our settlement, and perhaps we'll get another game in soon-ish, but we're at the well over halfway point, I think. In the campaign.
And I like the way they do things, not to like sidetrack totally here, but they kind of using like the game mechanics to do like an elevator mimic, right, is pretty cool. They had like counters on either side so that you're going past floors and enemies are coming out. I thought that was really smart how they did it. So.
Yeah, that worked really well. It was kind of like the tile on the right side has a countdown, and then once the countdown's passed, it goes a couple more, and then if you're on it, you take damage and have to exit. So it was pretty, and it was one of the earlier quests too. So I believe once a game's been out for over a year, there's no such thing as like true spoilers. So if you play an elevator mission, you're going to know what we're talking about, but otherwise there's an elevator mission. I think it's even called the derelict elevator. So
I mean, I don't think we're spoiling too much.
I don't think we're spoiling anything. I don't think
that's like saying when the house fell in Oz, it landed on the witch's sister. Like
Titanic.
The movie's been out for almost 100 years. It's not a spoiler in Wicked.
No.
It's only been out for like a couple weeks. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyone who sees Wicked and doesn't know the source material, Troy, doesn't deserve to see Wicked. Frank Oz just rolled over in his...
Oh, I thought the source material was a play.
Jesus.
Oh, it's a book?
Yeah, originally. It was a book.
Moving on.
D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I think we talked about the boss fight. That was almost a TPK. You've got a heist coming up, but I have also been started up and played a couple sessions now of Dungeons of Drakkenheim, a really cool campaign setting that I think is one of the better third-party ones that I've seen. The more I read, the more I get into it. The Dungeon Dudes on YouTube did the campaign. And it reminds me of like Mordheim. A big magical comet hits the city, and now it's kind of what happens and who is fighting for the scraps and trying to do things. And the party has been pretty fun. Just kind of seeing how they start finding their ways and get used to each other. But Drakkenheim, highly recommend. The books are pretty interesting. The campaign setting's pretty cool. It introduces some fun mechanics around like contamination and character classes that can play with that, like different class backgrounds. So very cool, but enjoying that.
Awesome.
How about you guys? What's getting played at the brew house or the BoD Prime?
So it was actually we have to give, I don't know what it would be called, the BoD North.
The Wolf's Den?
Waukesha Wolf's Den. There we go. The Wolf's Den.
Love it.
I think he'll appreciate that.
Yep. So our friend Eric, we've been trying to get together and play a little more Kill Team or what's the AOS thing? I forget. Spearhead. I'm like, I was going to say Shatterpoint. I'm like, that's completely the wrong system and everything else. Spearhead. But we were playing, but Kill Team. So we got together, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and played some Kill Team. I have been normally playing my Gene Stealer Cult, and I get punched by Eric's Marines. This time I'm like, hey, let's see what I can pull together. And I pulled together a Necron kill team, and we went at it. And this was Eric and I think last time we had played, we had done, John was there, so we'd done like the co-op through mission, which was good to kind of learn the rules again. But we did kind of a straight up kill team. We had the Goonhammer tabletop what's it called, tabletop battles app that works great
for the
scoring, which it took me a while to figure out how to score it on the app, but once I actually retroactively I was able to get everything right. But it was useful to kind of have that to go through. I shouldn't say kind of, very useful to have that to go through once you kind of know how to use it around that. And it wasn't, I would say, not a reflection on the app, more of me understanding how to score kill team than anything else around that. So as we had to kind of get through it, but we used all the rules, had our secondary missions, scored that. Necrons were a blast because I was putting holes through Marines left and right and bouncing around, and ended up, I think Eric did win. It ended up coming down to a secondary. He was a little bit smarter on how he picked his secondaries, and actually he got one Marine. Mine was to keep people kind of out of my half of the board, and he literally got one Marine guy kind of in there on turn 2, and they kept me from scoring it. And that actually kind of ended up being the difference, because it was 1917, because I had killed everyone. But by the end, I think he had one Marine left, and I had a couple of the Necron guys left. But we had both got kind of even points on there's kind of like kill points stuff, primary missions, secondary missions that kind of go all into scoring around that. So lots of really good, lots of fun. Went through it, like I said, kind of scored out, and had a lot of fun with the Necrons, because they are shooty. They have a lot of tricks, a lot of buffs, and they can do some damage. So yeah, it was fun to kind of put some holes through Marines rather than my Genius of the Cult guys, which are much more kind of squishy, and I have a lot of them, but they all kind of like have to pick away at them and get it. Whereas one death mark with one juiced up death mark with a good shot can pretty much drop a Marine. So it was good.
Sweet. Well, at the brew house breakfast table, the kids and I have been playing some games pretty much every morning. We'll play something, and I kind of busted out an oldie but a goodie, Get Bit by Mayday Games. It's just, you have essentially like little Lego people, and you're swimming in a line. You're a bunch of pirates that are swimming away from a shark, and whoever's at the end of the line at the end of the round loses a limb. So you have 2 legs, 2 arms, and then once you're just bobbing there, then you're dead. So you have a handful of cards, 1 to 7, and you play your card, and if you match with somebody, neither of you move, and whoever has the highest card ends up moving to the front. So if I play a 3, I move to the front, and then if somebody plays a 4, they move to the front, and if somebody plays a 7, they move to the front, right? But if 2 people play a 7, neither of you move, and the person that played the 3 would move to the front. So it's kind of a game of strategy, what you think other people are going to play. And at first, my son was like really trying to out strategize everybody and trying to be like real tricky, but he kept messing up, because he tried to like overthink it, and then once he realized, oh no, I just need to play what makes sense, then he just started winning a lot, and now he really likes that game. So
it's amazing how that works when you start a new game. If you lose the first time, it's the worst game ever.
Yeah.
With crappy random deck construction and a broken algorithm, and if you win, it's the best game ever, and you want
for
to keep
sure.
playing it.
Yeah.
Anyone know what game I was talking about there?
Keyforge, maybe.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good callback, Josh.
Nailed it. But yeah, no, he lost the first few games, and then once he figured out his strategy, then he started winning, and now it's a great game. So
excellent.
And then some Sushi Go and random other stuff. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
I like the shark attacks and sushi for breakfast.
Yeah. It's a good time to get it done, right? Like
Yeah, oh yeah.
everybody
Start the
showered
day.
and breakfast, and now we have like 20 minutes, half hour. Let's knock out a game. So
Start the day with a game.
Yep.
That's that's something that we found works very well at the weekender. Why not during the weekdays?
heck yeah.
All right. Speaking of doing a little bit every day, hobby. Exercise the painting muscles and get to the hobby table every day. So I'm going to start because I've been hobbying every day for the last several days
Nice.
since the great priming before winter set in. I've been painting a bunch of Oathsworn and kind of just picking up a hero or two and painting one model at a time, or a monster, or a boss, and just kind of whatever feels fun at the moment, rather than, I think historically I've tried to paint like armies and units and projects, and this was just, I'm going to start doing whatever I feel like. And before you know it, you're taking, I probably am spending way too long on the models for how they're actually turning out. But like they're super fun scale. They're that 50, 55, 58 ish millimeter models. So it can be a little bit messier than like usual, and it still translates well. But I've gotten 7 of the 12 heroes painted, and then I had a couple of encounters painted for the weekender that I'm sure we'll talk a little more in depth about. But painting a ton of Oathsworn, and then so Cubic Shenanigans Dan Bears had texted me. He started building some of his conquest stuff, so we're gonna get together at Warp Storm over the week between Christmas and New Year's. Just bring whatever we can get assembled and kind of teach ourselves how to play conquest. So I'm going to start working. I've started working on assembling my knights from the 100 Kingdoms starter army to bring and hopefully get a game in with Dan. So and then also I've got some kill team assembly underway, but more for RPG use, maybe for playing kill team with Eric over winter break as well. So I'll see what I can all get built, but I've got some goals to assemble stuff. So yeah, that's my hobby. Oathsworn and building stuff.
Nice.
So I have a little, so I'll go in the middle before Josh, because he's got a long list too. So as I mentioned, I played Kill Team and I brought a new Kill Team, which are my Necrons. So I kind of went to the shelf and said, hey, I have a Necron army. What can I pull some models out of here and put a Kill Team together? And I got pretty close. I did proxy. I think I used more of a Necron Lord for my Technomancer and things like that. But I didn't, there's 2 little kind of, I can't remember what they're called, but little Necron kind of buff models that I didn't have a good thing for, but I knew there was stuff in the Indominus box that looks pretty close. So went to the shelf, pulled those off, and I tried to, be inspired by Ty and some of his Oathsworn, where we're like, Ty, you have 4 hours before we play, paint up our stuff. So I, of course, wait. I'm like, oh, I'm going to play Eric tonight. I probably should get, but I think it was like the Friday before. We were playing Saturday, Friday. So I'm like, let me find these. And then I put them together. And then I just put a quick prime on them, and then just gave them a real dirty dry brush, so they didn't look like they were just primed. So that they at least, but knowing I'm going to probably just completely repaint them a little bit, but just put a little bit on it. And then when I got back, I was inspired, and I still had a bunch of the bits sitting on my table. And I'm like, oh, I really want to, instead of using the Necron Lord as a proxy, I'm like, let me take another mod. There's a Plas, what do they call it? The Plasmite or something like that. Or Plasmancer kind of guy. Which is this, like, it looks like a Necron Technomancer guy. So I'm like, oh, it's sitting there, and I built that guy up and ready to use, so I can swap him into my Kill Team as a real. He's not the exact model you get in the Kill Team box, but nobody cares. They're pretty right. I mean, he's got a big staff. He looks like a Necron, right? He'll be fine. so that was it. Yeah, just a little. I should be doing more other stuff, but we're getting there. Been doing some 3D printing. We'll call it that. So
nice. My list is a little long, mainly because I didn't get to I didn't sit in with you guys last week or last time, so
We mentioned you at the beginning and end of the show, though.
I did hear that. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I built and painted Sabretooth, Wolverine, Captain Marvel, Cyclops, Beast, Colossus, and I just finished Shadowcat last night. So Kitty Pryde. So
I don't believe Kitty Pryde's actually a Marvel hero.
She
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I mean, she goes by Shadowcat too. If that helps. But
how is that a real hero?
She can phase through walls.
Yeah, she phases through stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's that have to do with being a cat?
She's got a dragon named Lockheed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's awesome. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was.
We'll get you some books. I got to bring Ty some books.
Yep.
Are we save it for the library? Or are we going to out Ty right now? He's like he's never read an X-Men book. That's what we're outing him right here.
Did Alan Moore write any X-Men?
He worked for DC.
Oh, okay. The good authors work for DC.
Chris Claremont.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
All right.
So you just have to So I'm just say I know who Alan Moore is. Maybe you should learn who Chris Claremont is.
Oh,
okay.
MCP stands for Marvel Coop Protocol.
Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I'm working on a master mold. Here's his big head.
That's a big head. He's got a big dome. That's like a 5 head.
Yep.
Oh.
I'm hoping. So I don't know if you could see the eyeballs. I don't know.
I think I captured master mold in my drawing this weekend fairly well.
So his head comes off, like the top of the head comes off. So I'm gonna hopefully put some LEDs to make his eyes light up. So that should be fun.
Josh, you should also print us. I would can you blow that up, and then we can each have master mold helmets that we can wear while we're running the game.
Yeah.
Ty, I need you to draw up what you want it to look like, because little foreshadowing to our weekender here. But and then Ty, you forgot I recruited you for some terrain painting. I got it primed, but I was worried I wasn't going to get it finished. So Ty has graciously offered to paint up the terrain, which it looks awesome. Yeah, I like it.
I spent an hour and I got every piece's floor base coated. Now it's time to get the sponge out and some Vallejo Model Air metals and start going to town with the sponge.
Love it. So yeah, just cranking away at MCP, trying to get some convention models done. I mean, I'm doing an okay job. I'm not doing a professional awesome job. I'm just trying to get them table ready. They're not amazing. So
yeah, they're clean.
Yeah,
they meet the 3 foot. Look really good.
For sure. If you look real close, it's but yeah, if you're here, it's good.
You're spending a lot of time on getting great highlights on the rear end though. Colossus's butt looked perfect.
Really nice. Really nice. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then obviously some random 3D printing here and there, but yeah, that's hobby.
Excellent. That is hobby. Let's go from hobby to crowdfunding. Troy surprised us all with this top one on the list.
Yeah.
So these are more of the crowdfunding I've received lately. So Andromeda's Edge, which is still sitting in the box. I did bring it to the Weekender, but we ran out of time and energy. We were going to at least do an unboxing event, but we didn't even get to that point. And we'll talk about that. But what got us excited about Andromeda's Edge is supposedly this is Everdale. If you ever heard us talk about Dwelling of Everdale and how great that game is, supposedly this is very much kind of in that vein, but in space. And so if you know me, anything in space is really good. So I have the base box, and then what's funny is then the like Kickstarter add-on or like deluxe box is literally 3 times the size of the base box, and that has all the cool stuff in it. So it's still not unpacked, Ty, so we can still maybe figure out we can make it a group unboxing and smell the newness together.
What are you doing on
and
Sunday?
punch out I don't know, watching
Packer
volleyball
game?
probably. I'm watching volleyball. It's the NCAA volleyball women's championship will be, so we'll see. So we're gonna get that. We gotta get it punched and figure out when we're gonna get it to the table one of these days. But excited for that one. Something to look forward to there. And then the other one, it's because of course it's a racing game. If you haven't heard of Joyride, Survival of the Fastest, supposed to be, again, that one's also in shrink, sitting over there because I bought like the deluxe version of it. Supposedly this is a really good kind of racing game, kind of in that in between, a little more somewhere between Thunder Road and Heat, kind of in a sweet spot between there. You're racing, you're not on like a track, it's more of like open dirt racing, whatever. Some cool little, they're not real models, but you can put real models in there. It's supposed to be some really good mechanics for like you're crashing into each other and balancing things. So heard some really good things about this, as this is supposed to be really fun. And as you know me, I'll buy anything that's like a racing game, that's anything that's
put a race car on the front, and Troy's buying it.
Yeah, right. And the fact that they said that this was like their favorite racing game, I was like, all right, I got to try this out and just add it to the collection, because I have almost every racing game that there's ever been. So
can Josh and I guess what this third one is?
Sure.
So I'm gonna go with, do we get 2 guesses or one guess?
You probably can have 2.
So Josh, if I take the thing you'd buy at the pharmacy if you're constipated,
that's where I was going with
this
it.
This is either an aid for, if you're having some constipation issues, or a Swedish shelf.
See, I was thinking, like going along the first theme there.
Yeah.
It's a service that you can get rid of games, right? You can
flush out your system.
Yeah, you flush out your games.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep.
I like that.
Is that what it is?
So what these guys are referring to is, I put in game lax. And so you can guess at why they believe it's something that helps you keep things moving, or might clean things out in some way. What it actually is closer to what Ty's second guess was, which means I gotta go. It's actually up there. You can kind of see how there's a shelf. So basically, for your Kallax IKEA shelves, it's a 3D set of pretty 3D print files that let you kind of create inserts and other shelves for the Kallax, board gaming. Since everyone that plays board games has one of these shelves behind them, so you can do all kinds of stuff with your. And I printed a shelf for that one to kind of see how it works around that. And that's a simple one. Like if you ever had these, and you buy the actual stuff from, like, because I have drawers and stuff from the IKEA stuff, but it kind of like you have a box within the box that slides in to do that. So, but it's pretty cool how they have the different parts that all kind of fit on a normal 3D printer that you can crank out, pretty sturdy. They have some of it's just interesting from a design perspective on how they did the shelves, because the shelves are actually folded when you print them, and then you unfold them to make them shelves. Which was pretty cool, and how they got kind of made it work for the size of some of that. And you can do like there's some drawers for like card game stuff, and and even display, like some, if you want to do miniatures displays, like kind of a staircase kind of thing, and even some round, if you want to do round inserts, because maybe you want play mats or something, and they have like tubes that you put in there. So I don't. Again, it's kind of what you want to do and whatever. But again, they're not that expensive. It was kind of fun to exercise the 3D printer to do that. So that's what GameLax is, and I think it's the Kickstarter is fulfilled, and I think you can buy the files just by themselves.
And where did you hear about this?
It was a Kickstarter. I don't know
but
where.
I mean, there's millions of Kickstarters, right? How did you hear about this specifically?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Instagram ad.
It might have. Yeah, I mean, I might have been targeted, but I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly if it was an email or.
Does your guys' company do phishing tests where they send you like a fake email and you gotta detect it? I'm gonna do Kickstarter tests, and I'm gonna send Troy like tailored ads of gaming projects and see if I can just get him to back it.
Any kind of racing game.
Yeah.
Space
it's gonna be
racing with the
cars
right?
go fast.
In space.
Death-defying turn-based racing card game.
Now with Space Marines.
Yep.
Now
I'm in. I'm going right in at that bot. Like, what's the max pledge? Got it. Boom.
Rotating game shelf made from 3D printed plastic.
I'm in. Bye. Stretch goals, you get a life-size Space Marine.
We should have a contest. What we should do and plan it out is we should do an episode where we Shark Tank, where we pitch Troy on our Kickstarter campaign, our project, whatever it is. We got to design a product, we got to come up with the marketing, and we got to pitch it to our shark and see if he'll invest or not invest.
I like this.
And we'll get a guest panel. We'll get Carl Tuttle, we'll get Raph Cordero and Troy, and they'll be our sharks. And we will pitch them Kickstarter projects.
This sounds awesome.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be a big year in 2025. Big year.
Yep. No.
All right. Speaking of 2025, other items of note, 98 days to Adepticon.
Yep. Event preview is up.
Out there.
It should have been, by the time this gets out, it's probably been out about a week or so. But as of yesterday when we're recording this, the event preview went up. 1,250 events is kind of what Matt said is out there. So lots of stuff to take a look at and figure out. And that's not even, again, as normal, a lot of the actual big publishers like GW, I don't think Atomic Mass has all their stuff in there yet either. Not like, again, some of them do, but a lot of the actual manufacturers don't have all their like events quite in the mix yet either. I think they have the idea and they have space kind of planned for them, but they don't have them actually in there yet. But I think it's pretty close. I can't.
What's the base?
Take a look.
Have in there, Troy, if people are perusing.
If they are perusing, they will see, of course, the Flagpole Space Hulk. They will see now new this year Marvel Crisis Protocol, thanks to Joshua up there. Also pulling back some of our 3D space or 3D Zombicide events that we've done in years past or that we've done in other local cons around there, and 40K role playing. Woo! Thanks to Mr. Ty, we're running 2 sessions of I don't know, Ty, if you want to give a little, like it what's kind of cool is we've kind of tied it into the same world or as the Space Hulk happening there. So some events there might have a little bit of tie back and callback, but
yeah, Imperium Maledictum,
which is the
Cubicle
new one.
7 kind of reimagining of the kind of that D100 Dark Heresy style game.
Yep.
And kind of set in the Warhammer 40K world as you have these patrons, likely inquisitorial or rogue trader, like various powerful entities that move around, and you are a group of agents working for your patrons. So Troy Space Hulk game, for those of that may have played, there is a recurring Imperial Inquisitor Frost, that has had some highlights and lowlights of his choices and decisions as they affect the various Hulks that have done battle with the Tyranid invasion forces. And a cryptic message was sent from the flagship that Frost ordered to be destroyed last time in Space Hulk. So the receipt of that message is kind of the linchpin of what kicks off the RPG scenario, as the group then has to investigate: was there a hidden meaning? Was this a warning? Was this a call for help? What exactly was Inquisitor Frost's last message, and what do they need to do? So we'll see how it goes. New game system, still kind of working out the details of the scenario. Got some play testing ahead of me and some rules reading, so I'm not just doing improv theater for 3 hours and every so often asking somebody to give me a D100 roll.
That's pretty cool. Isn't that role playing? That's kind of what role playing is, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll
it'll
do
be
voices. Fun. So I mean,
it'll be fun, and and they'll all be, again. I could probably figure it out. But we're gonna have our own space, not completely our own, but we'll have kind of all the games happening around the same area, around wherever the Space Hulk game is. So probably somewhere on the, I don't know which floor of there, but one of the smaller ballrooms we'll kind of have carved out for some stuff for us. So excited. Yeah. Again, as we're under 100 days here to get that going. But, yeah, a lot. It's going to be an interesting 2025 Adepticon. New place, new stuff. There'll be a little bit of growing pains and whatever else, but it's excited.
So I think in that kind of one thing we've talked about, and I think what we'll do here in the future episodes leading up to Adepticon is as locals and kind of let's say ambassadors of the hobby and gaming in the Milwaukee area, certainly want to give a little bit of insight into some of the stuff that might be off the beaten path, what's nearby. I mean, Troy and I work downtown, so like restaurants and parking and things that sometimes you don't always think about when you're coming to a new place for a convention, but certainly want to give some insight into the local area and what you can do there. And also a little bit more of a preview probably of what we're doing, like Josh's MCP stuff, the Space Hulks terrain, maybe some of the characters for the RPG, stuff like that. Just little vignettes about Adepticon as we head up, because it is going to be huge. It's in Milwaukee, and we're very excited that it's in our backyard. So.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if we'll hit anybody, but if you are listening and you have questions about Milwaukee, Adepticon, whatever, info at Basement of Death is probably the easiest way to get to us. Again, rather than trying to hunt us down on socials, because we all kind of ignore our socials sometimes. But yeah, if you want to hear something or specific questions, I mean, even if it's something we don't put on the podcast, if you have a question, feel free to reach out to us.
Oh yeah.
Info at basementofdeath.com. And we're happy to tell you what we know, or if we don't know, we'll tell you that too, but happy to tell you what we know.
All right. Speaking of what we know, let's talk about what we're reading, because books teach you stuff and you learn stuff and you get entertained. But the BoD Library, as always, where we talk about what we've been reading, listening to, watching. I'm just going to continue to kick off each segment. So I'm going to go first, because that's what I'm going to do. So I've been reading Fury of the Gods, and I really was excited for this, and I still am. I'm really enjoying it. The problem is I've been painting so much, I haven't been reading physical books, because at night I've been spending a few hours painting or hobbying instead of reading. So I should have downloaded it, but I find myself out of Audible credits and with a backlog of things I've downloaded. So Fury of the Gods continues to be, I read a few pages here and there, but I just haven't had the dedicated kind of reading binge to get it done. Really enjoying it, but it's in progress. However, I've done a lot of Audible listening between the commute and my hobby time. One book that I finished was Stephen King's 11/22/63, his time travel book about a man who goes through a portal back to 1958 and then lives in the past and tries to prevent the Kennedy assassination, and kind of what that does, and how he interacts with people back then. So it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I haven't read a ton of Stephen King, but this book, the pacing was really good. I think they made a show on like Hulu or something a handful of years ago with James Franco about it. So I'm probably going to check out the show. I think it was a limited series or mini series, but the book was really enjoyable. So would check that out if you're at all interested in all things Kennedy and conspiracy theory and time travel. It handles the time travel in a really interesting way. And then a new author that I've discovered that I've been enjoying, Ryan, I've heard it pronounced Kyle. It looks like Cahill, Cahill. It's a trilogy that is called The Bound and the Broken. The first book is Of Blood and Fire. It was actually one that I think I saw some Instagram like book reviews talking about, and it popped up in a few of my social media kind of videos and stuff as people talk about, series they really like and what's worth starting. And I finished the first one and then started the second, Of Darkness and Light. And I was having a discussion with Troy. It's starting to be now when I pick up a new fantasy series, it's kind of like, what is this most like? Where did they borrow from? What are the influences? And I think I described this one as it's like somebody wanted to do their own take on Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan with kind of the pacing and the more active events moving forward of like a John Gwynne book series like Malice or Wrath and Ruin, those books that he wrote. So it's good. I mean, although it follows some of the tropes, boy from a village becomes a hero pursued by powerful forces. But it's a cool take. I think there's some good character development. I think it falls into the trap of a lot of fantasy where you have a male dominated cast with very few female voices. So, I mean, that's, I think there are some areas that it could improve, but it's good for audible listening. I don't know if I would have stuck with it if I was not doing other stuff while I listen. But it's been pretty good. I think so I've been using Storyworth instead of Goodreads to rate stuff because it lets me do half stars. And I feel like I gave the first one like a 3.5. Because Goodreads has that 5-point scale with no halves, and Storyworth has half increments. So, but definitely would check it out if you're looking for, kind of newer fantasy and you've read a lot of the other classics and other series out there. And then I'm going to steal the thunder. Part of why I wanted to go first is watching Amazon Prime dropped the first 8 episodes of Secret Level. And I watched it that day. And I think I immediately messaged you guys. I texted Danner. I texted Bryce. I texted my brother and my dad. And I was like, stop what you're doing and watch episode 5 immediately. And then episode 1. And do it right now. And like, I then watched that episode 5 3 times consecutively. And then I watched episode 1 3 times consecutively. Right. And then I started going through the others. But the video game, so Tim Miller, Deadpool, other projects brought it to Prime. Incredible animation, all set in video game worlds, but very interesting takes. There's one Unreal. Pac-Man is dark and like crazy and not at all what you expect, but just an incredible series. Like
Love and Robots, right? I think if you were familiar with Love and Robots, same people here, and you can tell some of the things. But just again, I'm slowly working my way through them, and everyone I watched has been very entertaining. Some of them are like really, for different ways. They're all really good, but some of them like are in different ways. But even the 2 I watched today, one was the New Worlds one. I think Ty, you said you're like, that one's pretty funny. I'm like, oh yeah, it is pretty funny. And there's an interesting cameo in that one. Not going to spoil it. And then I think what was I just watched whatever episode 2 was, which I wasn't familiar with. I'm trying to think. Sifu,
Sifu
whatever.
or Seifu.
Sifu
Yeah.
again, really not like just kind of hits you nice. Like just it's only like 10 minutes, but again, really, really good.
Yeah, today the next handful of episodes. I think one is a Mega Man one.
Yeah, I noticed that all of a sudden my thing goes out to 15 now or something.
Yeah.
Like what? I'm already behind. Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
But yeah, secret level. Like, I mean, I think they had teased what was coming. The trailer that dropped recently was just incredible.
Yeah.
But then like you watch and like edge of your seat where you're like audibly cheering or going, what? Oh my God. Like just as stuff happens. And I'm going to try not to spoil it too much, but all I'm going to say is the scene in the dark in episode 5 is incredible.
Yeah.
Like in absolutely incredible animation and use of color and darkness, like just amazing.
Yep. That's really good. Yeah. And I mean, episode 5 is the 40K one. It is. Yeah.
And the
one is the D&D
reveal,
one, and 5 is 40K. And those
1
are like for us at least the top of the, and then everything else is just frosting. But
get better than that. Like there's Honor Amongst Thieves was funny, entertaining, enjoyable D&D movie. The cutscenes, Baldur's Gate storyline, all this stuff has been fantastic. This 20-minute episode single-handedly became instantly the best D&D entertainment ever. It's better than any book that's ever been written and set in the realms. It's better than any cartoon, any movie, any video game cutscene, and it is instantly number 1 at the top of like the hierarchy of D&D content. It's better than any episode of Critical Role. It's better than any single page of a book written by any author of all time. It's the best.
I think Ty really liked it.
I think he liked it. Yeah, we'll have to let it. We'll have to let it get out into the universe a little bit. Maybe we have to come back and break it down. About. I have a lot of thoughts about why why it's so good, right? Why it's everything it is that you said, Ty, right? And it's not, and it's because it's not just fighting for 16 minutes. I think that's the important part, right? Yeah,
right.
I will die on this hill that R.A. Salvatore has never written a scene that comes even close to touching the caliber and the power and the poignant moments of that episode.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time for me to go.
Yeah, it was excellent.
A scene out, yeah, but it's really good.
I'm done. That's it. Library.
All right. I have been trying to read short books so I can get to my end of year total. Full disclosure. So it's
that ship sailed for me when I decided to read my second Malazan book.
Malazan, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Once you dive into that one, it's over. So I finally, and only because I've had the book on my shelf, and it's literally I've had it turned out on my shelf so I can see it all for like a year or more. Is The Narrow Road Between Desires, Patrick Rothfuss. It's a novella kind of set. Yeah, I think is it around? I don't know which book it's around. But in basically the Name of the Wind universe, Bast, who is one of the main characters there. It's just a little short novella story that basically he took it from a short story because it's based on the Lightning Tree short story that came out. I don't even know how many years ago that was, but he basically took it, turned it into about, I think 40,000, 50,000 words. He said something like that. And kind of put out this novella. I listened to it, but I also the physical book, which you should get too, because it has a bunch of really cool illustrations.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, that, and I should know the artist on there, but really cool. That's kind of mixed in there. So I would say, even if but it was cool to listen to it. And that's what got me to go through it. Again, Patrick Rothfuss. I miss that. Like he is such a, like, he just writes, his words are so much, I don't know what you want to say it. They're richer, right? Like you can just know, like it's so much when you listen to it. Not that, I mean, there's certain other authors and whatever, but Patrick Rothfuss just knows how to craft craft the words and even if like he'll admit this story, this novella really isn't about anything. There's not a whole lot right going on, but you can just listen to him kind of, it's a day in the life of Bast really is what it is, but just enjoyable to listen to. So
yeah, I mean, I think when you look across modern fantasy, he's one of the most prolific writers of prose that are working today. Like, it's not the gritty, visceral, like Joe Abercrombie blood and mud. It's not the plotting, long lineage politics of George R. R. Martin, but it is just like majesty of words. Like every sentence just has power, and it's so funny when you think about naming and the way that words have power in his world. You see it in his writing and the lyrical nature of how different characters, just what they choose to say is awesome. But yeah, that book's a great one as far as short reads go.
And then another 4-hour Audible book that I saw on a best of list somewhere, and I just was curious. It's called The Bear, Andrew Krivak, and it's interesting about, it's just basically you kind of get, it's interesting because of what he doesn't fill out. Like, you don't know how, all you know is it's a story of a man and a daughter living kind of out in the wilderness. You can assume it's some kind of maybe post-apocalyptic event, but you can't really, but it's just, they're in nature, very interesting around, I don't want to spoil too many things, but and it's not all you think it's going to be, or not, whatever. So again, for 4 hours, and very much enjoyed it. Very different. Again, one of these kind of palate cleansers that, like, I wouldn't call it science fiction or fantasy in any way, but it's maybe a little bit of, because it is a little bit post-apocalyptic, maybe, but you wouldn't. He never says that, so you just have to kind of fill in some blanks. So, so if you're interested in, again, a short read, and I won't call it, it can be a little heavy. It can be, it's interesting because it's, I don't want to, it's not The Road, but there's some things there too of just like, what do you, it's like The Road set in a really nice forest. Maybe that's like my best. So it's like not, again, not, I don't want to like sugarcoat things too much on what you're getting into there. So another interesting one, again, that I have, called a book I've actually been reading because it doesn't exist on any kind of electronic, is 40 Thieves on Saipan. This, I actually have a signed copy of this from the author, because he actually lives in Door County. I got this from my dad, and the book was actually signed for my niece who's in the Marines. And this is the story of World War II, of basically the Marine Scout Sniper Squadron on Saipan, and it's basically written by the son of the leader of that group. And I'm just kind of starting it out and going through, and basically how they were, again, it's 44, kind of towards the end of the World War II, fighting in the Pacific, but different, now we're talking 80 years ago, right? It's kind of hard to believe that 80 years ago, but really, and very much, he talked with and interviewed a lot of the guys that were still there when his father was alive, pulled a lot of the letters that went back home between soldiers. And again, it was, my dad had given me the book because he had gotten it signed from the author when there. So working my way through that, again, I'm always interested in always a World War II book. As I get through it, I'll let you know how it is also, I will say, a book of its time, right? There's a lot in 1944. There were things that aren't PC now, right? or aren't right now, or not. So it is a real raw of what the world was at that time, right? And especially when you know how women are referred to and different things like that. But again, nothing too bad, but it is what it is, right? Around some of that. But so interesting read there. So and then Ty talked about Secret Level and watching, and then Ty, I'm just started, and you've been saying it, I think you said it almost for a year when you read it, Black Tongue Thief. I've started that book. Did you read it or listen to it?
Both.
So I didn't realize.
I read it paper first. I listened to it the second time, and then I listened to Daughter's War and didn't read Daughter's War on paper.
So I didn't realize. So Buellman narrates Black Tongue Thief. I had to go look him up. I'm like, wait, this guy's from Florida. He's doing the whole book in like an Irish accent.
Irish brogue, yeah.
I've only like 4 chapters in, and I'm like, you got to be like, it grabbed me from the first chapter. It was all of a sudden available on Audible on Spotify. Or on an audio on Spotify, and so I'm like, oh, and I had the Kindle, but I didn't have the Audible, and now that it's on Spotify, I'm like, oh, I finished The Bear, I finished Narrow Road, and I'm like, oh, all right, I'll just start it, just see what Ty, and I'm totally in. We'll come back, and I'll probably burn through it this month, and we'll see what that is. But really, really enjoying that. Again, only 4 chapters in, and it's got me.
I'm not going to say more now because we're doing a best reads in our main segment when we talk about the Weekender and our best of the year, and maybe that book will be talked about again here in short order.
Awesome.
Right, Josh, take us home.
I've been delinquent on my reading. I don't know why. I go through like waves of I read a bunch and then I don't, and so I'm still working through These Burning Stars. I think I start and stopped a few times and I'm lost, and I need to like rewind and catch back up to like. My mind kind of wanders occasionally.
That's like the spicy space book that you talked about a couple episodes ago, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes, it is that book. So it's kind of interesting because you were talking about how, one of the books you were reading is very male dominated. This is a very female dominated book, and I'm really enjoying it kind of for that aspect. I think it's really fun. So, and then clearly Secret Level, like super great. I think we went all out on that, but yeah, definitely watch it. Super good. And I'm really excited. I didn't realize there was going to be another batch of them. So I'm kind of excited to jump back into what those ones are.
So I'm so excited to see what they do with Mega Man.
Same. I was a huge Mega Man fan.
It's been like 30 years or something crazy since the last Mega Man game, I think.
Right. And then a movie that we watched with the family a few weeks ago. It was a book from like 2010, I think, Out of My Mind. It's about a girl with cerebral palsy, and she's nonverbal, and it's kind of goes through a bunch of trials and tribulations that she has. She's like super smart, but she can't get it out to people, and you just see it. Like it hurts your heart because you're like, you could tell that she just wants to do all these things, and people just aren't listening to her, and it kind of goes through a little bit of that story. I don't want to spoil it, but it's like, so it hit, and the actress that plays the main character also has cerebral palsy. So it's like representation in media. And I think that's super important and so cool. So, there was definitely points where I was like, it's a little dusty in here, guys. Like, it really pulls at your heartstrings. So, if you got kids and you think this would be a good movie for them, I think it's definitely worth a watch. So super good.
We should real quick hit any movie watching plans during winter break.
Ooh, good question.
Because you got War of the Rohirrim out this last weekend, the animated. It's kind of like anime style. Lord of the Rings, set 200 years before the events of Lord of the Rings, with obviously the War of the Rohirrim. You've got Nosferatu opening on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You've got Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2 out. Like,
I want to see that.
There's a
I've
lot
heard-
of really good stuff right now in the theater. So I think I'm
Yeah.
going to try to see all 3 of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of time at the movies.
That's awesome.
And 7 more episodes of Secret Level.
Yeah. That's for
That's
sure.
for sure. Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a short break to recharge our batteries after that library session, because I feel like I've never been that positive on the show before in history. And I gotta prime the engines to be more positive as I talk about the Weekender and the best of. But when we come back, so get rehydrated, get rested up, be ready to roll, because we'll be right back at you. And we are back and ready to talk about the Weekender 2024. And guys, I got to be honest, when we had BoDCon back in August, I was like, man, this is amazing, but I still want a Weekender. So we got it done. We got Bryce. Found one of the Airbnbs we stayed at previously, one of the early Weekenders. I think we calculated we've done like 5 of these now, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
And let's just start with kind of a recap of kind of what we played, and then we'll focus a little bit on a few of them, because some are games that I think were new to us all, and some were games that might have been new to one of us. But we can go a little bit deeper on a couple of them. But we started off before Bryce was able to join us with a game of Daybreak. So Pandemic creator Matt Leacock did this game with somebody, and I can't remember who, but we've talked about it a little bit. You are cooperating with the other players representing various nations of the world, or groups of nations, trying to stave off the impending planetary doom of the climate crisis by dealing with carbon emissions and providing clean energy to lower the emissions that hit each round, that increase the temperature, that then affect how bad the crisis phase of every turn is. If you can reach drawdown, so net zero carbon emissions, and then survive, you can win the game. Everything went horribly wrong, and we died a slow heat death as the glaciers permafrost melted, oceans got acidified, and I think the Amazon got deforested.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was probably my fault.
Probably.
I don't know.
There's something about that game that scratches an itch for me. I really enjoy it. And I don't know. I think it's partially because it's a co-op game, and I haven't been part of a winning playthrough. And I don't know. I think there's something there that I kind of just go, I want to play it again. So.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I mean, this is almost a similar feeling to when Pandemic first came out. When the first, I don't know if you guys, but we were the same. We used to play Pandemic a bunch. I mean, even we had people at work, like at lunch, we would keep playing because it was like we had like the iPad version, and we would play it because we were all it's just like, oh, we were so close to winning. Oh, right. And especially when you play with and yeah, I think there's something there with the co-op of like, yeah, getting that success, right? Especially when it's hard, right? That's the cool thing about these ones. Again, Matt Leacock, he likes to like, yeah, you're going to lose more often than you win, but that just makes the winning so much sweeter, right? If you actually can pull it off. So
for sure. Yeah. It's a good game. It's a good game.
One of my better impulse purchases. That was went into the game store this, end of summer, early fall, and was like, this looks really neat. And I picked it up, and it's been a winner. I think that was my 5th time playing it, and I've won it twice and lost it 3 times. So Daybreak. Then Bryce showed up, but before like playing, so I bought a bunch of booster packs of Twilight Republic. I forget. It's Star Wars Unlimited's new set because I had thought, oh, maybe we'll have some time to do a draft or something Friday night. I didn't know, and then we were like, we're probably not going to do this. So then I just sat down and started cracking packs with Josh, and was handing him a stack, and then we were opening, and all of a sudden he opened a showcase card, which is like the premier cards. You guaranteed they're $100, $200, $300 cards. General Grievous, and I was like, oh yeah. So 5x'd the buy-in price of the 12 packs with the single card, and then had a couple of $10 cards, and it was a good 12 packs of opening. So got home Sunday and put it into the sleeve and then one of the top loaders, and added it to the stack of cards that I really should send to get graded, and then it caused me to go through my Lorcana cards and my Star Wars cards and price out others and find where they go. So the like $4,000 of cards I'm holding right here, I need to find a better way to store these than just out on a shelf. But
don't use them as coasters or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I just want to say this: cracking those packs, I love the feel of whatever that paper is. It's not plastic. It's not paper. It's somewhere in between. I don't know.
It's like that old waxed kind of
Yeah.
paper feeling of like the old 90s baseball card packs.
I love it.
With a little more
There's something
gloss.
about it. It's good. It's good.
So, Josh, there was some kind of a prenup agreement that even though you opened the pack, Ty got to take it home. What is that? Oh,
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
I was using his luck. I wanted
Yeah.
his luck to rub
he
off.
stole all my luck.
the
Okay.
pack.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just saying,
That's
maybe there should be some kind of reimbursement for your luck. That's all.
We signed a blood contract under the light of the moon on the 5th day of the month, under a circle of ash trees in a hidden grove of the dark woods.
I mean, it was a cool looking card.
Right.
That like it's like a full art foil, and it's General Grievous, so it's already pretty cool. So I'm just
Let's
happy
see.
that it was worth a chunk of money. Yeah, there he is.
There you go. Ooh, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
What's that big thumbprint on it?
Ooh, the corner's bent.
Why does it look like Josh's thumbprint right on it? What's that? Greasy. He was like eating Cheetos when he was opening those, wasn't he?
Yep. And then he just bent the corner in for no reason.
I flicked it.
He's like, this card sucks. But yeah. So then Friday night we busted out Oathsworn with Bryce. Bryce hadn't played in a while. Josh hadn't really played in a while. I think, Josh, this might have been your second time playing Oathsworn.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Out of the scenarios that we've run through. But Troy and I continue to really, really like Oathsworn. Putting out all the painted miniatures and the painted terrain was really cool. That first battle was against Venator. And like the story mode took you through this city and the cathedral, and you're trying to figure out. I think we had to do the prison break, which was kind of fun. Like the mini game within the story mode. So,
Yeah.
But Oathsworn, it continues to be, you get two very different play experiences in each game, the story mode half and then the battle half. I really like how that works. I don't know.
Yeah, but and then what's funny, again, at least in me, the story, like, it blends together. Like in my mind, like when you tell the story of the game, right? It's like, hey, we did the story, then blended right into the combat. And it, because the combat totally makes sense it's really the climax of this story we went through. And so in my mind, when I remember it, right, I remember it all as one kind of, very narrative battle, because you had all this story that kind of led up to it that leads to the battle at the end, which is always kind of funny. So yeah, just enjoying that. There's and again, I haven't played a million of these things, right? But it just, the story it's strong, right? It's strong. You're invested. It, like, the world seems like a world, And as more and more we play, we flesh out more, and there's more cities, and it's fun. Yeah. And in some ways, like even our band is starting to have, we have, some, I don't know what you call it, some character, like they're starting, we kind of have a way that we act. We're starting to get some traits about the way that our Oathsworn band actually operates and things like that, which is pretty cool.
Josh, any things you recall, since Oathsworn is a newer, not newer, but
Yeah, the way the cards play is fun. Like so you play it to a I don't know what is that, sections around your card.
Battle flow. The battle flow system.
Yeah, that's the battle flow system is super interesting because you play to like a 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 0, 1, 2, 3, and if you play another card there, then it kind of moves that first card, kind of around, and then once you get to 0, at the end of your turn, you can pick up all those cards at 0. Like, so you're really kind of thinking ahead about, I need to do things in a certain order to be most efficient, right? To be card efficient. So I think that's an interesting mechanic, especially for battle. So you're not just playing your heavy hitter cards every time. You have to think about when you're playing them within the battle, right? So
yeah, they just do it again. I think it's a nice job because again, your more powerful cards are the higher level battle flow. So they just, no matter, you can definitely have a strategy, but they're not going to be available in your hand every single turn, right? So it just, so you kind of have to vary your combat style. It just becomes a little more organic. Like it does feel like, I can't do my super attack every single time. And how do I kind of be creative with what the cards I have to do that? And again, the game also, the AI on every monster has been a little different. And you have to kind of guess it, like what's it going to do, because it always throws a wrench in your plan, right? No matter what we've had pretty good plans, we get pretty good, but you're never sure what it's going to do, because it always does the one thing you're like, oh shoot, I didn't think that he was going to move across the board, right?
Or he's attacking the farthest away instead of the closest.
Right? Yeah.
So all these crazy little scenarios, but it's a super fun game. I really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, and then so Friday night was pretty much Oathsworn, and that ran into the later hours. I think Oathsworn, where we, I don't want to say struggle, but we don't play it often enough to make it really like a crisp game. And then kind of when you're kind of reteaching it or relearning it, slows it down a little bit because it's not a fast game. Like you're committing your stretch of three-ish hours if you're like focused playing, 4+ if you're kind of unfocused and socializing and hanging out, which there's really not a problem. Even though, Josh, I think I sent you the TikTok of the guy when he's playing a game and people are socializing instead of taking their turn.
So somehow I read the title of that and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be Ty.
But so like the Friday night we played that, went to bed, woke up, Bryce made like an egg bake breakfast. We watched D&D secret level episode, and then Josh had a table set up for Crisis Protocol. So Master Mold was throwing sentinels at us. Magneto wasn't taking any of that bullshit. And we killed the guy sitting on his plastic throne.
Yeah. The paper cutout version, because as you can tell, Master Mold is in pieces still, so I need to finish him up. But
you had some incredible artists help set the scene for Master Mold, the paper version.
He may or may not have had paper boobs, which was awesome.
They were his chest plate. That was the armor chest plate.
Right. Yep. They looked good. They looked good. So no, it was super fun. So thank you guys for and Bryce and Ty and Troy kind of gave me some suggestions and some pointers and how to tweak the event, because this is sort of a custom scenario that I thought would be fun. So, yeah, I took those to heart, and I think I have some ideas on how to make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more like con friendly, right? So,
So Josh,
yeah.
did you? I don't know if you've seen. So I mentioned the Adepticon events went live yesterday. I already had someone reach out and say, I saw your Master Mold event. I'm really interested to see the rules and how you guys are going to do it. So
Okay.
I said,
All right.
said, more coming soon. I replied to him, more coming soon. Watch the MCP page on basementofdeath.com, and we will start to add more details there, especially after we run it in a couple weeks at Midwinter. So, but yeah, I don't think I shared it with you. I literally we got a comment on the website yesterday as soon as the events went live at Adepticon.
That's hilarious. Okay, yeah. Cool. Good.
So no pressure at all.
No pressure.
Like,
no pressure. Yeah, no, I think I owe you a blurb and some pictures too for the website. So
Yep.
So after we defeated Master Mold, which I actually thought was going to be a giant fungal growth, I was very surprised when it was a powerful sentinel. Because
this is the fact again. Remember where I said Ty hasn't read any X-Men books? Just remember that.
Yep. But it wasn't a mushroom. So that was surprising to me.
Nor was it any of my molds that I pour plaster into.
I thought we were invading a myconid colony. Turns out not the case.
No.
So after that, Bryce and I had spent the better part of a Saturday recently unboxing one of his Kickstarter arrivals. So he got Awaken Realms Tainted Grail some time ago. And in that, there's a standalone game called The Kings of Ruin. So Tainted Grail came with Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin, standalone game, and then a stretch campaign add-on to Tainted Grail. So we did Kings of Ruin, which is kind of a Avalon after the fall, trying to find Arthur is lost and has been for God knows how long. These dark mists have kind of taken over Avalon, and you are adventurers trying to make your way through. And we did the chapter 1 quest. We kind of each had our character. We learned it. I had tried to learn it in advance. It's hard. It's a very complicated game, but I think we did a pretty good job of getting into the action and kind of going through it. You play these cards down that form the map. Each card has interactions, abilities, and checks and references to an exploration journal. So there's like a storybook. It is a game that has a tremendous amount of reading. So Oathsworn also has a lot in the story mode. Tainted Grail has a ton of reading. Makes me wonder why they chose not to do an app guided experience. I don't know if it's because of the exploration and the secrets, and if it would just be too branching of a narrative. But I think you would benefit a lot from professional voice acted narration, app guided experience.
I don't know, Ty, you did fine. If everyone doesn't know, we make Ty read everything basically. So the Weekender was basically Ty reading for about 16 hours is what it turned out.
It was several hours of Ty story time between that and Oathsworn.
Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Troy was trying to get me to pay him per page.
Well, he is. Yeah, you are.
I think we figured out what do I owe him, $500 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, as Ty's manager, I got the invoice almost written out. So I can
cover he covered the down payment with taking the General Grievous out of the pack.
No, that's right. Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
So Kings of Ruin, it reminds me of Seventh Continent, for anyone that might be familiar with that game, where you're putting out the cards and exploring and looking for clues on the cards. Seventh Continent has a little less reference to a storybook, more on the cards, and kind of that drives the game. I thought the combat was kind of cool once we kind of got a feel for it. you're playing cards out into a sequence, and each card kind of has like a bar on the left with some symbols and a bar on the right most of the time. And if you match up, you can gain successes or rewards from the card or multipliers. And then the next player, when they play their card, is looking to match symbols and line up those keys, which is a very unique way to deal with combat that is not playing like power cards or rolling dice. It's very like you're accruing successes ultimately in a combat pool. You get those from your cards. I thought that was really unique. I don't recall having played a game that really uses something like that. So I mean, the minis are cool. You don't really need them. You use them as markers when you move around the cards. But I think it's a good game. It's just it feels like it would take 100+ hours, similar to the length of time you spend like kind of playing through the story in like a Frosthaven. Like it's a game you just would need to revisit a lot to really discover. And you don't discover everything. That's the thing. You get to these locations and you find you're missing things you may need to unlock stuff. So it's almost like you got to come back later and explore places you've already been if you really want to get all of the information. And then there's plenty of red herrings, like a lake that it offers you to swim around and explore. And you don't have an infinite supply of time and or food to accomplish your goals. So you're trying to mitigate losing resources as you advance your way through the chapter. But I thought
I found food was sort of our linchpin, and it sounded like I did some reading, and it sounded like a few people had some issues with food survivability, but I think once you get past a certain point, then that kind of goes away. So I think early on, you just have to be mindful of your food resource. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I found I thought the story was interesting. I liked the cards and the exploration of kind of working through that, because it made me. You're always like I was engaged in like I want to know what's next or where do we find that, whatever.
Yeah,
I find the combat very unique, but I don't know that I need it in the same game. Like I could like I don't know that I what I mean. I think there is like a story mode or something else like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of that, but it's kind of. But I totally agree. Like it's totally unique. It's interesting. It almost could be its own. Like I could play that as its own kind of combat game, and then I could do this. Right. I don't know that I need it in the game, because it's almost like, I want to say jarring. Like it's like, hey, we're going through and we're doing the story and exploring and stuff, and now we're going to do combat, which is like a kind of we're going to play this totally mini game within the game to do the combat, and then kind of come back and do our stuff. So I can see that, right? I mean, it because you might be able to do that, but I don't know that I need it, right? But that said, I would also buy a game maybe that was just that combat, like that system. Like, hey, we're just going to do some, because it is so unique, builder. Right? Yeah, it is so unique. I've never seen anything like that, and there was a lot there where I'm like, man, I want to get, like, I almost want to get. It was like either I want to get reps in that combat system, because I'm like, I'm scratching the surface here. Like I'm barely getting kind of what would be the great, the most economic way to play this, or what are my power cards, kind of stuff. But you're only, it was like we'd have one combat every hour or two, right? And it's something like, and again, we played early, right? But it's like I was interested in that. Like, hey, I would just play this and get reps on that because it seemed really fun. Or I'd love to just keep going on the story because I love that kind of piece too. So, interesting. Yeah, again, and I like that story and world. It was interesting. It's kind of like a mystery, right? You kind of you're like, I want to find out more, and there's you're never going to find it. I feel like you're never going to find it all out, right? You're always going to have a path that doesn't go. But I don't know. It's kind of like the same way I'm with with video game RPGs, where I'm I guess too old and don't have enough time. Like I'd rather watch somebody play through it and then see the story than actually, like, I don't need to invest the 100 hours into it to do it myself. But I'm interested. Like I want to see the story and I want to see how it goes. So I'll let somebody else wander through it. But
yeah, I'm interested in what the story mode, or like the easier, version plays like, because I was very interested in the events and the exploration, less so in the managing food, managing resources, like choosing what to spend and what to gain. Like that's fun, and I'm not downplaying that. I think they did a really good job. It was just a lot. Like the game is very, it's similar to remember that when we played this War of Mine for the first time.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like and you're playing through trying to see how you survive, feeling terrible in this oppressive world, and it captures everything very well, but then it's like, my goodness, like there's just so much managing of the game state that it not detracts, but like it's a little distracting from the story, from the the events.
Instead of thinking about like, how do I get to X place, or how do I get through whatever? How do I get food to stay alive? Right? It's like, is that the story? I don't know.
And I told Bryce, like, I want to play it a few more times. So I think we're going to try to schedule a couple of Saturdays in January just to drive up by him and put it out and see if we can get through like a chapter or two. And because I'm interested in seeing where the story goes and what happens.
For sure.
But we'll see. So that was Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin. And then just like we did dinner, so Bryce made some chili. We kind of sat together and ate a dinner after the end of the Bucks were playing that night. So there was a few things that we just kind of would take a step back from the game table. Josh made some cookies.
Vegan cookies.
I made some vegan cornbread.
Yes.
Go with the chili.
Yep.
And then we decided what better way to close out the night than 4 hours of Oathsworn. And we played another Oathsworn scenario, which was the most tense story mission ever.
Yeah. So far. We'll just say
like,
so far.
So far, yeah. Chapter 8 was a kick in the junk of like just brutal, terrifying moments of loss, and it was so good.
It was good. It was so good. Yeah, it was so good. Yeah.
And they delivered a singularly unique event. Like none of the other stories have come close to how that one played out and how that worked.
It was a banger. It was a banger.
And then
I enjoyed it.
The monster came out onto the table, and it was an old nemesis returned.
Yep.
And he was very purple. So,
beautifully painted.
Yes, and that was
we killed it and won and got our loot and moved on. So chapter 9 coming to a board game table near the BoD. Now I got to paint chapter 10. I only have a one encounter lead on the paint queue. So I got to go paint the box 10. But yeah, and then, it was kind of the end of Saturday after those marathon games, and Sunday morning always comes around too fast. But I think, the key of any great weekender is the people that were there with, like hanging out with you guys away from responsibilities and work and everything else. And just, spending hours having some beers and drinks and playing some games. Okay. So we captured the essence of the weekender again. I did open up. So the house cocktail, Troy and I each brought Monster and Door County Cherry Vodka. So we did not get through both bottles, but most of the way through one. I brought the Critical Role Sandkegs Hyde blended the whiskey, the bourbon. That was pretty delicious. I think that got broken out at some point during Crisis Protocol and then continued to have it. But, Troy had a bunch of Zevia. There were some Ecto Coolers.
Yeah. Rest in Peach.
Rest in
Yep.
peach. Yeah. Good stuff. Any other Weekender thoughts, comments, criticisms? How we do it again next time?
Add a day.
Add a day.
Yeah.
Thursday arrival.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna be like Gen Con, right? We're just keep adding it up.
Just keep adding a day.
Before you know it, we'll be coming in on Tuesday and setting
Yeah.
up, and then playing through till Sunday night.
Yep.
Yep. Let's go. All right, let's do it. We are at the end of the year, 2024, coming to a close here soon. You know, some people are trying to speed through their books to hit their goals. Some people are trying to paint their last few models to fill out their hobby bingo cards. But here at Playin and Slayin, we want to talk about some of our favorites from the year. So we broke it down into some categories that we often talk about. So reads, watches, games played, and then just BoD moments. So let's start with our top read of 2024, and I'm going to go in reverse order. So Troy, I'm going to start with you. What were the top reads of your year?
Cool. So I went back to the Goodreads list, and I kind of had thought about this before, and I'm going with. So I think I talked about it, and I'll give my daughter has a lot of influence on some of my stuff on my list this year. But The Girl Who Drank the Moon, Kelly Barnhill, which it's kind of a YA book, but it was a 5-star for me. Just really enjoyed it. It's fantasy, but not. It's interesting as a YA book. It kind of walks the line on like, this is, it hits some heavier topics in an interesting way. A good emotional ending. Enjoyed that. So again, I think I recommended it when I read it earlier in this year, but that's one's at top of my list. I'll have a co-winner. And I mentioned again, The End in the Death, Volume 3, the end of the Horus Heresy saga, Dan Abnett bringing that thing home after whatever 14, 15 years, 50 some books. And even again, the whatever he wrote, 3,000 pages in The End in the Death, volumes 1, 2, and 3. There were some ups and downs, but in the end, he brought it home. And there was nobody else who was going to do it. So those were my 2 5-star book. That I think that was the only thing. I mean, I've read a lot of other good stuff this year, but I would say like not as many like outstanding books over the year that really kind of stood out. So that's mine.
Excellent. Josh, top reads.
I'm glad you picked 2 because I had a hard time picking between these 2, so I'm gonna throw 2 out there as well. Chain Gang All Stars. I think it was last year book, but I read it this year. So Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, and then Babel, Rebecca Kwong. Both were like really high on my list of like all time, but yeah, I mean of this year for sure. Super great. I really enjoyed both those books.
Have you seen R.F. Kwong has a book coming in 2025 that's highly regarded?
I did see a blurb about it. I forget what it was, but yeah.
Two scholars go to, I think, hell to retrieve something. So it's this kind of like modern day, I want to say they're Cambridge or Oxford or something, like scholars. And I think they're studying like the Greek tragedies or something, and they go to hell to retrieve something. It's I can't think of the title, but it means it's that theme from Greek tragedy where they go to the hells, like, and try to bring something back.
Yeah,
but it looks super interesting. So
cool. No, that might have to be on my short list of to read this next year.
And then Chain Gang All Stars. Yeah, I know we've talked about that one at length. That's just a really, really good book that I think would lend itself really well to an adaptation too.
Yeah, for sure. That's all I kept thinking about when I was reading it is just like it's so vivid. Like I just see everything happening in my head, like how they could
Yeah, it's
do.
just brutal.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be killer. It'd be killer. No pun intended.
All right. Top read. Drum roll, please. Buellman.
Yeah.
Buellman. Christopher Buellman. I had 2 5-star reads this year, just when I look back at the 35-ish books I read. Both were Buellman titles. I had a couple of 4 and 4.5-star reads, Buellman titles. Like, I read, I think, 5 of his books this year. After I discovered Black Tongue Thief and read that twice. Every so often a book comes and it just like grabs you as a reader, and as like you connect with it, and that for me was Black Tongue Thief. And then what's crazy to me is how well he writes across genres. I read The Lesser Dead, a book about vampires in 1970s New York. I read the 1400s, the gothic horror of Between Two Fires, like just insane. And then Daughter's War, I can't remember. Have you met Gelva in Black Tongue Thief by chapter 4?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
The
don't.
soldier lady that he travels with. Have you
Oh,
met
yeah,
the soldier?
yeah.
Yeah. Daughter's War is Gelva's
Yeah,
prequel.
okay.
And
Okay.
yeah. And just incredible. Like, just incredible. So Black Tongue Thief, if I have to pick a book, but otherwise it is everything I've read by Christopher Buellman. To the point where I'm like, how did I not hear this guy's name years ago? Like, I don't know how that works, where these weren't like just waved in front of me and said, go read this book. So I'm incredibly excited for the next book in the series. I haven't seen if there's any dates talked about or rumored yet, but he turned Black Tongue Thief and Daughter's War out pretty quick. So I'd be interested in if he's lining up that second book in the series, but third book overall in that world. So go do yourself a favor, read it, listen to it, consume it. It's the book. It's like, I tend to give out a book to people and I say, read this. So like I gave it to my brother. I said, you have to read this. You know, I think I told Danner, you have to read this. Like, it's not optional. It's on the like the mandatory Ty reads list. So, all right. I jumped the shark a lot in this episode. But I'm going to dive in the top what I've been watching. And this, I got accused by somebody of this being recency bias on this show. But Secret Level is the greatest bit of television. Like, it's the greatest animation I've ever seen, and it is some of the best story in a short form that I've ever consumed. And I say that not only because the source material of video games is very near and dear to me as a child of the 80s and 90s, but D&D, Warhammer, Pac-Man, like just incredible stuff. So Secret Level on Prime. There's other great stuff. Rings of Power season 2 came out. I love that. I like what the Wheel of Time's doing. Prime is doing some really good work. Netflix has had a run of good shows this year too, but Secret Level to me is kind of the pinnacle of storytelling in that medium. So Josh, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I will have to agree. Secret Level is really good. And there's something about like these 10, 15, 20, like under 30-minute episodes that I don't know. There's something about that space that I really enjoy. There's not enough in that space where and they pack so much into the 10, 20-minute episodes, which is I don't know, I love it. I think it's great. Honorable mention for me, 3 Body Problem. I really like that. And I think I heard there's going to be a season 2. So
I mean, there are 3 books, so it wouldn't shock me.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I need to finish that. I keep hearing good things about that series. I read the book, but I started it and I didn't keep going.
I struggled.
To finish
yeah,
that.
I fell off the horse.
Yeah, I never read the book. The show is really good. I really liked it. So
Troy.
All right, mine again are influenced by my daughter because I only watch TV when she's watching it. Is kind of where it turns out to be. So, I think I had mentioned this before. So we caught again. These are all old. She got. And I think that I showed it to her because I think John, my brother, had mentioned it. That hey, maybe Sarah would like it. So the old series Gravity Falls on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Like there's so many cool levels there and this really kind of cool story and that so we watched that together kind of over the last and it was funny, she went back to because sometimes she'll go back, so she jumped back the last couple of weeks and we were watching some of our favorite episodes on that. And then I think I mentioned that too, the YouTube series Murder Drones, again, that I think finished up. The final episode of that came out this year. After that, really enjoy, again, some interesting animation, kind of a lot of story. Like you look at it, you think, oh, there's a lot of, superficial, kind of like, oh, it's just kind of these drones that are kind of fighting each other, but there's a really interesting kind of deep story there that you really have to pay attention to follow along. Some cool characters, cool music. Again, by I think it's an Australian company that's doing it. That's done that there, and I think Digital Circus is the series that they're working on now, which I have not caught. That's actually on Netflix, I believe. Digital Circus is by that. So I have not. Sarah's watched that, and she says she wants to sit down with me and do a marathon watch of Digital Circus on Netflix. That one's only about halfway out, I think, in some of that, but. Yeah, so I went to my my looks here. It's funny, I have not sat down and watched a ton of movies or anything this year, but again, I'll sit down and watch whatever Sarah's watching, which tends to be those things. So,
if that was what happened to me, I'd be watching this guy who he cuts boots and shoes apart on YouTube and talks about the construction, rose anvil, and then makes wallets and other leather goods. Like Landon is all in on like boot integrity and like testing of the what pounds the tongue that's tied to the shoe can take, and how the leather is it real leather, fake leather. It's crazy, man. Like that's all that's ever on is Call of Duty Easter egg playthroughs and this dude destroying thousands of dollars of boots and shoes.
I should show up to your house with just like 3 sets of boots and a Sawzall and just be like, hey, Landon, you ready?
So I got a little side story. I got a little pissed off because I found it's a little Swiss Army knife, right? Big deal. But he had taken it, and then I found the sole of I don't know what pair of shoes. All the shoe leather and fabric had been cut off, and it was just a sole, and he cut into, and I was like, like there could be so many worse things, right? So I tried to just stay cool and be like, not what you should be using to do it, not where you should be hiding it. But I'm like, I get it. You wanted to put into practice what you saw, but let's think about destroying a pair of shoes. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Kids, man. Kids, man. Let's see, where were we? Troy, we're
games. Want to bring us back? I can bring us back on games. All right.
Games played.
Games played. I tried to stay on brand. I did have to put Oathsworn in here. Just really enjoyed that over this year. Again, I know Ty, you and I have played that on and off here through the year. And then, of course, I had to add just a couple of racing games, maybe. So Thunder Alley, that is a game I don't own, or one of the few racing games I don't own. The the Gamers Ranch library, of course, had it. Was able to get a play in it with Ben and Jeremy down there. Really enjoyed it as just another. So again, Thunder Alley and partly again, it could be a lot of the ambiance and part of that, remembering it as part of that weekend too. But again, Thunder Alley was great. And then the re-envisioning of Thunder Road that came out this year, that's sitting over here somewhere. I've been able to get that to the table, and I played again. Just a lot of that's nostalgia because I also have if you go way up on top of my thing, I have the 1977 version up on top too. But Thunder Road for a lot of reasons. So again, I could probably go through a lot of lists. There's a lot of things, but those were some highlights that jumped up. So I don't know if those were my absolute top, but they're things that are top of mind at least. So
yeah, I do. Real quick, you said Ben, and I have to just ask, before we get to Josh's games played, this is really for Dr. Gabe and for Ben. Everyone else, tune out. I'd just like you to think about the top watches and what we talked about and what streaming platforms they came from. There was nothing from Warhammer Plus even mentioned in the upper tier of 2024 or what we're watching now. So evaluate, think about that. Take a while to process what I'm saying, and then move along. Josh, top 3 games played.
Somebody may have said something to you about recency bias, and maybe there's some truth to that in my games played here. But Daybreak, I think I touched on that earlier. Yeah, we haven't beaten it, and it's a co-op game, and at least when I've played it with you. So yeah, it's still in my want to beat it with the group thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the fact that it's all recyclable materials and things. I don't know. There's something cool about it. Really enjoy that.
Sustainably made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Love it. Arcs. I think I may have stolen that one from your list, but still, it's super, super good. And I think every time we've played, I've gotten absolutely crushed. I don't think I've even come close to winning, which is totally fine because I still really enjoy the mechanics, and I feel like I'm going down the right path in Arcs, and then I just realized, no, I am way off base here. So there's something about like trying to figure out how a game works in my brain that keeps me coming back. So that's Arcs for me. And then obviously Frosthaven, and I think it's more about like us getting together so often to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the best game in the world, but it is still super fun, and the story that we're telling is super fun. And yeah, just like getting together often to play it it's high on my list.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel like a broken record, Josh. So I'm gonna interject one other one that I left off the list, but I had Arcs. I think fundamentally, mechanically, that game was kind of the newest feeling game I've played this year, where like I didn't feel like I was playing anything I've ever played before.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games you get, this has this element or that. Like Dwellings of Eldervale was last year's game where like I played that and I was like, this game is incredible. This game is like, it does things so well and eloquently. This year, that's Arcs. I just feel like that game is tight. It's tuned. It's a really unique play experience every time through it. I'm super excited to try the lore and legends, like the leaders that you get and the faction changes. I'm super close to buying. I'll probably after the holidays purchase the Blighted Reach campaign. It turns Arcs into a 3-game like campaign where you play through and the galaxy changes and things happen from game to game. So I think that would be really cool. But Arcs was definitely kind of up there. Oathsworn, I think we've played that a number of times this year and end of last year, but it does some things that are really great. The miniatures are amazing. Like to me, that's probably my favorite part is the quality of these miniatures.
Yeah.
and the miniature combat I feel is really, really unique and really tight. The story's well written, and that makes it interesting to get the narrative aspect. But like physically, the components are awesome, and the gameplay of those boss battles is just really fun, really tactical, cool stuff. Frosthaven for the same reasons you mentioned, and then my wife and I, Nicole and I, played the successor to My City, My Island. When I was looking back through my plays for the year, we played that one 24 times or whatever, the 8 chapters. So like that was top of the most game the game I played the most was that, as we played through that over the course of a month or two. And that Kinesia continues to deliver just really good tile placing games. He's got a new one out that is kind of like you're connecting villages through a network with tile placement. That looks interesting. It's like, it's not Conquistador, but it's something like Escador. It's some like Spanish sounding word, Escudero, I think it might be actually. That looks really cool that I might pick up. So Reiner Knizia has got the tile placement thing down, and that game's just super fun for a small player, 2-player, 3-player, to play through quickly, like the campaign, and see the island change and the story develop. So I cheated. That's four games, but
yeah.
What is the app that you use to track your games? I've forgotten.
Now I got to look at the name of it. It is BG Stats.
BG Stats. Okay.
Board game stats.
I think in 2025, I think I'm gonna try to add that to my when I play a game, mark it down.
But according to BG Stats, I have 84 plays. That is not counting the 20 or so plays at BoDCon, because I just didn't enter those as I went, and I haven't gone back and retroactively done it. But yeah, BG Stats, there's a free version, and that's really all you need. You don't need the pay. There's one you can pay like $4 a month or something for. But it is, once you get it set up and you put the games in and stuff, it's pretty cool.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Top moments, BoD moments specifically, because that is our community, and that is where we spend a lot of our gaming time and with gaming friends. So I will start. The crowning achievement of 2024 Basement of Death experiences was the Gamers Ranch BoDCon over the summer, with you guys and others. Like that will not be beaten for a destination board gaming experience. Truly was epic in every way. We've talked about it at length. Check out our episode when we returned from that. Should be probably 5 or 6 episodes ago, where we kind of have some videos. Look up the Gamers Ranch to see what it's all about. But BoDCon was the pinnacle. From there, other moments, the Weekender continues every year that we do that, or a couple times a year if we don't have a BoDCon. Continue to be one of the best weekends of just getting games played and hanging out. I'm going to make a suggestion for the next Weekender. We add in a hobby paint session, where we bring some paints and just sit together and paint, because that also is something I miss and I think I would like doing. So going to interject future planning with reflection as we do the retro here on 2024. Hear that, Troy? Retro.
Yep.
And then Game Hole this year was fantastic. Having Matt and Elena in town, seeing Barry, seeing John Scott, you guys, the Unknown Worlds launch of the backer kit, and that success for Paul and Jen. Elena's art, like it was just, Game Hole was such a good weekend experience from a gaming standpoint too. So those are mine. Josh, what do you got? Top 3 BoD moments.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I didn't say BoDCon, that I'd be doing it a disservice.
I would ban you. I would chat ban you. Your stream would shut down.
Really, like, I think one of my top moments there too was like just the beginning, like walking in and just seeing it in all its glory, and then walking around the corner and seeing all of the games, like just
Yeah.
the initial shock factor, I think was quite epic. And that's not to discount the rest of the weekend. It was amazing, but yeah, just the initial like, whoa, we're here. Like I think really set the stage. So that was awesome. And then honorable mention Adepticon, when I forgot the
Chaos Spawn,
and we had to purchase some from the bits bin and paint them. I don't know, that was just so fun. And then Danner adding the crazy blood effects that were definitely hazardous to our health.
Most certainly toxic. Yep.
Yeah. That I don't know. It was a super fun experience that you can really only have at Adepticon. So yeah, good times.
All right, Troy, bring it home.
I think I have to mention BoDCon, of course. Again,
You're
just so many
required.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 years of planning basically before that, almost probably, right, Ty? I think to make it all happen. But yeah, just so much fun. Again, having both my brothers there too, it made it really cool, and everybody else. Yeah, and just that place, you can't. Yeah, there's something about that place that you can't recreate anywhere else too. With all and then just the people there it was amazing. And even that's funny, like I have so many good vivid memories of just our frisbee golf adventures.
Yeah.
We played a bunch of games, but just we did take advantage of some of the lake and the outside stuff around there, which was awesome. So yeah, we'll have to see what BoDCon 2 ends up being in some ways. And then the other thing is, I thought, has really been kind of the Adepticon, and how it's almost been now the year-long. Again, we finished up Adepticon 2024, which is amazing and all that stuff. And then shortly after, all of a sudden, the news of Adepticon coming to Milwaukee broke out. And then we got to do, some of the additional working with the staff a little closer to do some prepping when Terrace was here in May, and then the other staff and I got to kind of tag along there and do that, and then continuing to work that and getting, as we're now building into, again, we said 90 days there. So in some ways it's like Adepticon is now, it's always been a little bit of a year-long event. It's even, I think this year even more with this first year in Milwaukee around some of that. So excited for that, and just it's something that just keeps me motivated. And I think along the way too, I want to dismiss is that getting to, again, as we ran events at Gamehole Con last year, we ran at Midwinter and Blizzards, and I think I mentioned it, right? I just get juiced. That's what fuels me, is kind of making fun for other people. That's what makes fun for me. And so as we've continued to do that throughout the year, has been a blast too. So
agreed.
Absolutely. And it wouldn't be an end of year episode without kind of a thank you as well. All the people that download, view, comment, send notes of support, friends, family, everything. Want to take just a minute to shout out you all, both Basement of Death Discord members and listeners, friends, fellow hobbyists. I think even if nobody was on the other side listening, Troy and Josh and I would still do this because we have been for a number of years, and Bryce as well, I know, share the sentiment of just getting together and hanging out and talking about what we've been doing and kind of reliving our moments. But certainly, it also doesn't happen without knowing that there are somebody else on the other end of the void, as our Voxcaster sends the message out there, that it's being listened and received. And that's awesome whenever we see a note, a message. So definitely thanks to all of the listeners, all of the subscribers. And we're going to keep doing this into the next year, and looking forward to all that comes ahead. So let's talk a little bit about events that are coming up. 2025, man, can't believe it. Year end is here. Midwinter, January 9th through the 12th, 2025. out in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. For those of you that may not know, Pewaukee, that is how it is pronounced, is west of Milwaukee. At the Ingleside Hotel and Convention Center, I think. There's a water park. There's lots of stuff nearby, but come hunker down at the hotel and hopefully avoid power outages and blizzards as we lead you on many happy experiences of Marvel Coop Protocol and Zombicide. I'll be helping out Paul and Jen with some perhaps Unknown Worlds games and the debut of Little Demons, the card game. Very excited to see that in the wild. So stop on by, check out a demo, pick up a copy of that. But that is the 9th through the 12th, right around the corner here, under a month from Midwinter. And then we've talked about it. We'll be leading up to it with a couple of episodes, maybe even a few mini Adepticon feature episodes as we head towards March 26th through the 30th at the Baird Center, downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What better place than Milwaukee for a large-scale gaming convention? And Adepticon has become the world's largest miniature gaming convention and other stuff. So come join us. We will talk more about that at length. But welcome to Milwaukee. Enjoy the city that never sleeps.
I don't think that's it.
Oh, no?
I think it's something about beer.
I've never slept in Milwaukee.
No.
I stay up all night because there's so much fun stuff to do. But yes, beer and cheese and nice people, Midwest nice. Yeah. So come
Sunshine
join us.
State.
Show me state. The show me state.
No.
Yes. Please, as always, leave us a review. Hit us up, iTunes, subscribe, do the thing where you get notifications when the monthly-ish episode drops. Keep
hit
supporting, keep downloading, hit the bell, Spotify, wherever you want. We're flexible. Just download, please. And then hit us up. Troy already said info@basementdeath.com if you've got any questions, comments, feedback, drink orders, thoughts about what we share, anything at all. But it has been a blast. And thank you, Troy and Josh, for joining for another episode of Where I Sit and Indulge My Desire to talk about stuff. So do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ty. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday, Troy.
Happy birthday to you, too.
It is a great month. And Josh, thank you for bringing the holiday cheer with your Festivus hat that you kept on all episode.
I did. My head's really hot.
Yep, I bet. And Bryce, we miss you. We will see you soon. Thanks for being there with us for the ride. Keep the dice rolling, the drinks on ice, and no matter what, keep playing and slaying.